Hi everyone, it's Danny back with another Cocoa Vanilla Studio design team layout. Today I'm going to be doing an Easter themed layout. It's a little bit non-traditional though, so I wanted to use the No Limits collection. It's still really new and I am not quite ready to take a break from creating with it. So I'm starting with this pattern paper as a background and it's called Big Bang. So what I'm doing now is I have taken a piece of vellum or sheet of vellum and I have just used some washi tape to temporarily stick that to the front of the pattern paper because I want to have my photo, one of my photos, sit perfectly inside this star shape. So I've gone ahead and traced the inside of the grey star and then I've also traced the outside of the teal coloured star there. So I'm going to use a larger star as a template to cut out my photo. So this is a great technique to use if you want your photos to be a specific shape or to fit in a specific part of a pattern paper background, is just to take a sheet of vellum and use it kind of like tracing paper. Really quick and easy, and yeah, it's exactly the right shape. It fits perfectly in there. You can see I did my happy hand dance. I was super excited about that, really pleased. And then I'll use the smaller inside star to cut out my other two photos. So I have three photos from last year, 2021. Were these from 2021 or 2020? Oh dear. I think they're actually from 2020 because this year was quite, sad with COVID and everything. And we had a real trouble sourcing Easter eggs this year. So our visit from the Easter Bunny was a little bit sad, a little bit reduced compared to what it normally would be. Luckily, we did manage to get a couple of packs of the hunting eggs, so we did have a lot of those. You can see them all lined up in the photo in the middle there, and we did get a few bits and pieces for the basket, so thankfully it wasn't a total loss, but yeah, it was just a little bit sad. So that's kind of why I'm doing this kind of layout. I'm cutting those photos down into shapes and making them a little smaller. We don't have a lot of photos from this year and not a lot of happy memories to record. So another reason why I'm kind of doing a little bit non-traditional here, because it didn't really feel like a normal Easter. So I'm using some of the A5 paper stack to make little mats for my photos. I am just going to stick those down temporarily while I'm cutting out the mats, and then I'm going to peel them up and stick down some craft foam. So I'm adding craft foam to all my stars here, all my photos, and then having the mat kind of dimensional like that. All right, now here's the main reason I wanted to use this background paper. I really wanted to do some hand stitching along those kind of starburst rays. So what I'm doing is piercing some holes along the pre-printed pattern on the paper, and I'm just following those lines that are already there and using my sewing awl to do those. And you'll see in a minute, I'm going to go in with some sequins and a couple of different types of embroidery thread, and just go and have a whale of a time with stitching. Now I'm going to do nice big long stitches, so it didn't take me a long time even though I have pierced that whole piece of paper, as you can see. Also going to add some splatters. There are already some printed on the paper, so I kind of just wanted to add a few different colours and textures, I suppose. So this is the Distress Oxide Spray Mist in Speckled Egg. It's a really nice soft duck egg blue. Just splattering that all around. And then I'm going to use this. This is a Liquitex acrylic ink in iridescent bright silver. This ink is amazing. I don't use silver very often, but this is the only one I will use. It is by far and away the best silver ink I've ever found. It's a true metallic. It's super shiny, really, really bright metallic silver. It's absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, me doing the splatters is completely out of focus the entire time, but I will do a couple of close-ups in on the background so that you can see how bright and shiny that silver ink actually is. So gorgeous. Okay, so now I'm coming in with the hand stitching, and you can see I'm going to alternate colours on the background. So some of those stripes are printed soft kind of minty green, blue aqua colour, and some of them are printed grey. So on the blue ones, I'm going to use this turquoise coloured embroidery thread, and I'm also going to stitch sequins to those. And then on the grey stripes, I'm going to use a bright silver metallic embroidery thread. So I'm alternating those, and those won't have any sequins on them. So I'm just going to do essentially a long running stitch here, because I have those long stitches there, and then where I have the 2 holes close together, that is where I'm going to put my sequins. So it's really, really simple, just coming up from the back, getting my sequin, and then piercing it through the top, back through that second hole that I've stitched close to it, and that secures my sequin down. Nice and easy. And I used a few different types of sequins on this. I used some white ones, some pale grey ones. I used some, what's the word I'm looking for? Holographic silver ones. They're really shiny. And I also used some little sparkly stars, which are kind of hard to see when you look at the overall layout. There's the holographic ones. Oh, aren't they pretty? So I don't use silver often, but I should use it more because I actually really love it when I do use it. I just love it for this layout. So there we go, skip 2. I've done all that stitching. You can see that metallic silver embroidery thread on every second starburst line, I suppose. And I've just done one big stitch for those metallic silver ones because it's a bit of a pain to stitch with. Looks really good though, especially with all the other silver elements on this layout. All right, so I have decided to hand make a title because I really wanted the colours of the collection to match, but the die cut titles that come in the collection were a little too large. So what I'm doing is taking the yellow paper from the A5 paper stack. I love this yellow, I've used it so much already. And I'm going to use an alpha die from my stash. So it's just a small block alpha. It's just the perfect size to make a small title with. And I'm just going to run that through until I get the letters I want. And I want to spell out egg hunt because that's what I'm documenting essentially. I'm not the most creative when it comes to titles, especially when I'm kind of making my own like this. So I'm just keeping it simple. And I really didn't want a long title because you'll see in a minute I'm going to put it in a spot where there's not a lot of space. So what you're seeing here is I've just gone ahead and used the same die set to punch out some craft foam letters. Okay, so the same letters, but just from single-sided craft foam. And that way I've made my own dimensional alpha. So that's a really easy and quick way to make your own dimensional puffy alpha title is to use a layer of craft foam behind your pattern paper using a die. So I've used, as you can see, I've used a yellow foam so that if you see the edges peeking out from behind the paper, it's the same kind of color, so it doesn't really matter. Same as if you had a pre-bought set of alphas with the foam backing. So I've just gone ahead and sped that up really quickly. Now I'm going to go ahead and stick my photos down. I didn't want to stick them down before I started the stitching for obvious reasons. And here I'm positioning my title. So you can see why I didn't want a large title because I'm just going to fit it in along the arms of this large star. And I do end up having to muck with the T a little bit here because it does overlap one of those embroidery threads. So I've just cut the foam off the back where it's going to overlap. And so it kind of just straddles that piece of embroidery thread. My head's getting in the way, sorry. I couldn't line it up without getting directly overhead, so it's a little bit difficult. But there you go, that's my title, Egg Hunt. And now I'm just getting ready to position these. And here I realize I've kind of made a boo-boo because I want to stick those pattern paper backing straight to the background paper, but I have all that stitching in the way. So I end up having to add a lot of glue, especially that metallic embroidery thread. It just repels everything. It doesn't stick to glue. It doesn't like to stick down. So I put in a ton of glue, and you'll see here in a minute, I kind of just stick my hand over the top of it for quite a while. I ended up switching the camera off to do it because I did have to just sit there with my hands pressed over the top for a good 5 minutes or so until it stuck down. I am using tacky glue though, so once it dries, it dries pretty permanently. So those are down. So now I'm putting my photos directly over the top. And I mean, they're not perfect because I did hand cut them, but they look good enough for me. All right, so here are the chipboard stickers. I'm just going to take 3 of the kind of sketchy stars off of the chipboard. Didn't really want to over embellish this layout too much because it is an Easter layout. So, you know, this collection isn't a traditional Easter. You wouldn't think of this for an Easter layout usually. So I'm trying to stick to the star theme because it's pretty generic. So I took some of the small die cuts from the ephemera pack. You can see there, just the stars. And again, again, I also took these from the ephemera pack. These were kind of an afterthought. I wasn't planning on using them, but then when I overlapped them with my 2 smaller photos, I really liked how they looked like that. So I decided to just go ahead and put them on there, and I think they add just a little something extra. So I'm just layering them over the top of my photos and offsetting them a little bit, kind of giving them that layered, messy star look. I really like that. And this isn't covering up anything particularly important in those photos. So just adding little bits of glue where I can to make sure they don't move too much. And then I'm just going to scatter these little stars around randomly until I'm happy with the placement. There wasn't a lot of thought going into this. I just kind of moved them around until I liked where they went. And you can see me switching back and forth between the colors there. Just adding some glue to the back of my chipboard stars. And again, having a little bit of trouble getting things secured, but just had to press them and hold them for a little while, and it was all good. Then I'm going to add a scattering of the little puffy stars. I think I add 2 around each of my bigger stars. Again, no particular reason for this. I just put them down until I was happy with how they looked. And that is going to be the layout done. So I'm just going to come in for a close-up so you can see how shiny that silver ink is. It's so amazing. I really love how this turned out. It turned out a lot better than I expected, and I really love the non-traditional Easter theme. Thank you for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye.